What's up, Turnkey family? We're back at it again with episode 7, and today we bring on the risk master, Keith Daris. He has spent 25 years in the SEAL teams, and he's here today to talk about worry, to talk about regret, and to also talk about, if you think the price of achieving something is high, wait till you get that bill of regret.
Yeah, guys, we also go through the mail system. So you got to know your market, you got to know your accounting, your numbers, you got to be willing to invest and understand the difference between an investment and a liability and what the legislation says so you can start planning for the next 5 to 10 years out.
So if you're having a hard time getting started today, you need to check out this episode.
What's up, Turnkey family? Hey, we're back at it. I hope your holiday season was great. And we are here with Keith Daris, and I'm going to actually let him introduce himself because I don't want to say too much or too little. Keith, take it away.
Good morning. My name is Keith. I just retired from the military after 25 years in SEAL teams, and I have never been better. I'm loving life to its fullest, taking all the lessons that I learned in the military and applying them to civilian life and having a great time doing it.
Nice.
That's awesome, Keith. And I think that's going to be really important in today's episode because we really want to dive into some of the risks that you've taken throughout your career and some of the things that you've learned along the way as, let's say, a W-2 employee or somebody who works has a full-time job, a full-time career, and how they can leverage that career against their side hustle, against their projects, against their business.
Yeah, and Keith, while you were in the service, you were still doing your side hustles, and you had a couple of businesses, right? Can you tell me about those?
I did. I had a mentor in my wife's best friend's father, and I didn't know it, but he was kind of probing me out, as a prospective suitor for his daughter's best friend. And I think I failed miserably. So he gave me a few really good books to read. One of them was a book that was about investing, where it broke down employed, self-employed, business owner, investor. And I remember that, and I remember it to this day. So the one you want to be is an investor. And you can also be an employee and an investor at the same time. So I struck out to do that. And I failed a couple times, but I also knocked a couple out of the park. And when you're in the military and you get a steady paycheck, you can afford to do that. You can afford to take some risk while you're on active duty and then again afterwards. So one of the things I did some merchandise stuff. I had a company, I still have it, called Frogman Republic. It's kind of dormant right now because I'm actively working some other stuff. But like a fraternity in college, guys in the military love stickers, they love hats, they love T-shirts. So I came up with some really cool designs. I'm not gifted that way, but I know some people that are. I know a guy.
Yeah.
So I would consult the guy that I knew, and I would have him come up with something really cool. I had the concept, but he had the talent to deliver. And then we would put it on a T-shirt, we'd put it on a hat, put it on a sticker, and I would sell it. And I just made supplemental income that way, and I did that for years, and I still do it. I haven't done it in a hot minute, but
yeah. It's amazing how you can just take some of your free time to go and start, whether it's a company or business or just like a little side project, and just see what happens,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another thing I was into, and again, I had another mentor. I'm a complete knucklehead, by the way. I'm not smart, but I was fortunate enough to know some smart people that were really gifted and really they took an interest in me and shared really valuable nuggets with me. One of which is real estate. So in the military, as you guys know, we have the VA benefit, which is an extraordinary benefit. And anyone who doesn't take advantage of it is really, they're even dumber than me. So I call it the equity football. Like, you get a hold of some equity, you buy that place, vice being a renter, and then you build that equity, and then you take that equity forward and you move it into your next project. And then you just keep that ball rolling, and you can do great things for yourself and for your family. And you can also teach those other young, dumb dudes that are coming up. You can teach them how to do it too. So. And
this is something that you could do like during your full-time job. Is this what you did going through your career a little bit?
Absolutely. When I met my wife, I made a deal with her. I'm just like, hey, baby, we need a computer, and we also need a place to live. So of course, I got her a wedding band because, I wanted to make her my woman. But I'm like, can we hold off on that dime until we get a computer and a house? And she's like, yes, let's do that. So we ended up buying a condo. And then we bought a house, and then we just kept it going. And she got her ring, by the way, a little bit later.
Nice.
And guess what she did with it? She put it in the safe and never wore it. So there you go.
Wow, very money-savvy couple, I take it.
No, like I said, I'm a total knucklehead. I just got really lucky and had some great mentors. So.
Nice. All right, so let's rewind and let's start at the beginning of your career. So you're starting off the military. You know, this is something that you really want to do. You really want to give back, but at the same time, you've talked to some other mentors and you've seen how important it is to take care of your family, take care of your finances, and move forward. Can you touch a little maybe on some of the mentors that you had and some of the things that they talked about?
Absolutely. One of them was my commanding officer.
Nice.
He's a big deal now, so I'll just leave his first name at Bob. So Bob was our commanding officer at SEAL Team 3, and he pulled all the officers in for his little kind of investment, money savvy chat. And I was like, hey, would it be all right if this knucklehead E5 joined you? And he let me do that. And by virtue of that, I understood. He talked about some alternative insurance vehicles that really perform really well over time. I won't mention any. I won't mention any particular ones just to keep it like commercial, non-commercial here. But he mentioned a way to insure your family and then also have that perform over time as a solid investment, tax-free. Mm-hmm. He also talked about the value of real estate, and he talked about don't be dumb. Like don't go out and buy an $80,000 car with your re-enlistment bonus. Invest that money. Understand the value. If you were to buy a depreciating asset, as soon as you drive it off a lot, like a car, it's already losing value. But if you bought real estate, or you bought an insurance product, or you bought some other type of equity that's going to perform for you over time and build your wealth, that's what you want to do. So
love it.
I took that to heart.
He was talking about like life insurance policies, health HSA's health. I forget, but these are policies that you can loan against as well, like a self-directed IRA, I imagine.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I learned about self-directed IRAs later, and that was another guy that I served with who was a teammate, and then he got out, and he's now a really savvy guy with investment, and he also does mortgage home loans. He's done quite a few of my mortgage home loans. So he taught me too. He's like, hey, you know what? Take this IRA and self-direct, and he's like, you're going to do fine. You know enough that you can do that now. So I guess the big takeaway, and I think what you guys are actively seeking here, correct me if I'm wrong, like I said, I'm a dummy, but you can afford, as a military guy on active duty or in the Guard, or even after, with all the programs available to you and with a little bit of knowledge, you can take risk and not lose it. You can still provide for your family. Just be smart, do your homework, do your research, and get a mentor. So that's what I did. I was really lucky that way. So
that's what you did. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but I really want to touch on how important this one fact is that you put yourself into an uncomfortable situation and got with your commander and asked if you could be a part of their group, their mindset group, for I'll just say, for lack of better terms.
Let's call it what it is. It was for the officers, you know what I mean?
Totally,
So,
yeah.
And I was like, hey, can I join in?
Yes.
And I took that on board. There are a lot of guys in the enlisted ranks that are also very savvy too, but some of those guys, like I've been mentored to by fellow enlisted guys, and then I was also a mentor to a lot of enlisted guys too, and help them kind of start to roll that equity.
And you were able to give that value because you put yourself in an awkward and uncomfortable situation, so that you could learn and broaden your horizon, and then teach that to others. And I think there's so many people listening to this now that can relate to that, because they're out there like, they know what they have to do. They've read the books, they've listened to the podcast, but they don't know how to get started. They don't know how to dive in. They can't, take that first step.
Well, mentorship is I wholeheartedly agree. Like, if you want to learn how to do something, and I know this, from living it. If you want to learn how to do something, find something who's really good at it. They've already blazed that trail and they're fully immersed in it, or they were fully immersed in it, and get under their wing. You can learn more from taking a mentor to lunch than you can after years of failing, and costing yourself kind of all kinds of trouble, time, money, and pain, and your wife yelling at you. You don't want that. So find someone who's smart and get under their wing and learn.
And your method, not only did you do that, but you did that while you had the protection or the security of your W-2 being in the government.
Exactly.
And you took your career, which was 25 years, to become the entrepreneur that you knew you wanted to be for the next 25 years of your life. You did that with the security, so it really wasn't a risk. I also want to touch on our definition of risk, because you're saying, be willing to take risk, put your money somewhere where you don't have that instant gratification. But what you did was you invested it into things that would allow you to I don't know why I started pointing, but you invested it in means where you'd be able to not only have that investment or that security, the life insurance for your family, but also something that you could lend against.
Yes.
So you could pull more money out of it. So is that really a risk, or is it more of a risk to go out every weekend with your Joes and, get wasted, buy alcohol or buy Zin or
Corvettes
Corvettes, or, go, to the lot closest because you
The
have to
lemon
walk
lot.
there and get an $80,000 Camaro.
Well, those aren't risks. Those are just useless activities in a way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with good times, and you have to have a few of those before you really kind of settle down and figure out what you want. But you're absolutely right. That's a great point, is that it's a greater liability to kind of be frivolous,
Mm-hmm.
And yes, absolutely. Heck, in the military, we have the operational risk management that we all have to learn and we have to adhere to. I guarantee if you were to apply what we've just talked about, investing, to that operational risk management, the outcome would be, yes, we can do this, and we will expose ourselves minimally, and their potential return on investment far outweighs the risk, which is how we kind of do everything in the military. So,
yeah, will you actually give a little walkthrough of the operational risk management?
you're going to put me on the spot?
Yeah, totally going to put you on the spot because I don't want to do it.
Oh, heck,
but
man. I used to
there's
teach
civilians that listen to this.
Operational risk management. So what we would most frequently apply that to is training evolutions where, for instance, we would do live fire, high risk, or we would try to mitigate risk. We would try to buy down our risk by implementing controls and first do a candid assessment of what we do. So, okay, let's just say we're going to run a static small arms range. So what are the risks? The risks are somebody getting shot. That's would be the worst outcome ever. So everything you do and everything you put in place is to mitigate that risk. Mm-hmm. And you do that with ratios of facilitators to trainees. You educate everybody on their range span, like, hey, this is left flank, this is right flank, so on and so forth. So at the time I was teaching it, I'm like, gosh, this is dry as a popcorn fart, and it's so boring and silly, but it actually was very sound. And now that I think about it, now that we're sitting here flushing it out, if you apply the mindset of investing, like we just talked about, to the operational risk management, I think it would pass the sniff test, and it would come out of the other end like, hey, absolutely, 100% do this.
Yeah,
100%.
We always talk about education mitigates risk.
Sure.
And so when you define what's the worst thing that could happen, we said, well, somebody could get injured, could get shot, could get hurt. When we look at like real estate investing, for example, that you were talking about, we could say, okay, we're going to purchase this house. What's the worst that could happen? Let's say the market crashes. How do we mitigate that risk? And educate ourselves so that we can make the appropriate investments.
Yeah, and we do that by running it. So we were just showing you our calculator before this that we're designing for the offers to make sure that they're good for both the on the creative side for the seller and for the buyer, making sure that those numbers work at the beginning of the deal and having our exit strategy for the end of the deal. So no matter what happens in this market specifically, it's a safe or good investment.
That's the beauty of real estate. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have something tangible at the end of the day, and that's why I really like it. Everything else kind of feels like Vegas, to a greater or lesser degree,
Yep.
And that drive back from Vegas when you got cleaned out is not a good feeling. So I've yet to have a real estate deal that I had that driving back from Vegas. Oh man, that I did not do well this weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my head hurts. So.
Yeah. Even our worst real estate deals, a year from now, they just feel like, oh, actually, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because they mature over time.
Exactly. But did I die?
Yeah. And real estate is something that everybody can do. You could buy one house a year. That is a very easy goal to adhere to achieve while working your everyday job, your W-2 or whatever your career path allows you that you want to do.
You just brought up something that I definitely want to share with your audience. I remember when I was getting ready to go to SEAL training, I was spending a lot of time in the pool, go figure, and the lifeguard at the pool at the Naval Hospital in San Diego, his name is Mark. And Mark, if you're still out there, man, you are a godsend, and you were a phenomenal mentor to me. He was a lifeguard, so he was a government employee getting just a salary. This guy owned I think he owned 20 houses as the lifeguard at the Naval Hospital in San Diego, and he taught not only me but a whole generation of young dudes that like to swim and or were getting ready to go to SEAL training. And he just mentored to us about like how he did it and everything. And his formula was really simple. And he was just like, yeah, you just acquire one, you build equity, then you get another one. And then you either rent it, or if you want to, you can sell it, or you can take a loan out against it. And it just sounded so sound, and it didn't sound like an outrageous risk. It sounded like a really good idea. So I listened hard to him, and in addition to all the other mentors that I had, and I'm so glad for it. I'm so thankful for it. And so is my wife too. I like I said, I'm a knucklehead. I'm lucky I found a good woman in the first place, and I think she stuck with me because I had good mentors. And she's like, well, he's a knucklehead, but heck, he learned a thing or two, so I think I'll ride this out.
Yeah, totally. I love it because, some people, they want to be an airline pilot. They want to be in the military. They want to be a lawyer. They want to be in a career field that interests them, that excites them. But at the same time, they can still look out for their financial future because they're not going to be able to do this forever. Mm-hmm. And this allows them that runway to take them into their latter years to enjoy the rest of their life with their friends, their family, their loved ones, and pass it down.
I mean, look at Corby, our mentor. He was a teacher with his wife, Heather, and they wanted to be teachers. Yep. They enjoyed giving back to the next generation, but he knew that wasn't going to get him the life that he wanted. So every summer, what they would do is they would go and they'd renovate one of their properties, and they'd spend the summer that they'd have off anyways traveling for part of it, but the other piece of it would be renovating that property. And they built enough wealth where it didn't make sense to be teachers anymore because they were providing more value to the community, running their long-term rental business and acquiring properties. And
Yep. So just a little here, a little there, and it just being 1% better every day, you'll become the tallest tree in the forest, and it's so powerful. So can you touch on a little bit of how your portfolio scaled now that you've learned all these different assets that you can invest in, having all these mentors that have taught you, how have you packaged that into your mind to move your portfolio to where it is today?
So at the apex of my real estate investing, I had like 6 properties, and it got a little hectic as a real estate investor and full time with a very stressful and demanding job where other people are counting on you. So I scaled it back a little bit while I was on active duty, and then as I moved to retirement, I wanted to have it super manageable, but I also wanted a lot of access to my liquidity. So while on active duty, you should do things as much as possible on autopilot. And I had those properties professionally managed for me at that time.
Smart.
Now I've scaled back. I have one rental, vice several when I was on active duty. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. It was fun and exciting, but it got pretty stressful at times. We had a couple of the properties were in North Carolina, and they have a lot of weather there. And holy heck, man, it was always something. So I have one now, and it's in a beautiful place here in Idaho, and it's professionally managed. And then what I'm looking for now is I'm looking for real opportunities. The market is different than it used to be. Money is more expensive now, but relative to long term, it's really not that expensive. I remember the first loan that I got, 7.25. I was ecstatic to get it. And people right now they'd freak out. They'd be like, 7.25? Are you out of your mind? That was the norm back in the day when I was, an E4, E5. So now I'm looking for opportunities, and really it's all about, for the longest time, X would make sense and Y was a bad idea. Now, sometimes if you're looking at like a distressed property, sometimes distressed properties have way more upside than like a turnkey or even in a good area versus a bad area. And there really aren't any bad areas in real estate if you think about it. They all have something to offer.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for properties that people are having trouble. The owner of that property cannot enjoy it for whatever reason, or they can't bring it to market. It's not marketable. It's not profitable. So that's where I'm kind of like really diving into right now and learning. And then I have 2 clients right now, and both of them are, going into it, it's not what I thought it was going to be. But now I found that there is a market for that empty slate property, where I like modern farmhouse. I think black and white is good, but a couple that's looking for a home, they might not like that. So there is a distinct market now for those properties that are kind of a blank slate. They need to be completely rehabbed, and people are actively looking for those. So that brings in, if you have equity, you can acquire properties like that, kind of recycle them as a wholesaler, or you can do, like I have one right now, crack slab, landscaping, and roof. Those are non-negotiable. Like, heck, the roof is in such bad shape, I've got to put a new roof on there, and I'm going to be hiring someone Friday to do that. So it's cool. And I guess the mindset that you have to have that resilient mindset that we learn in the military. Everyone thinks military is like very stringent, very, unwavering and like no flexibility. Far from it. Anyone who served in the military, if you serve for 2 years, you serve for 20, you know that you have to be flexible, that plans change, and that keep your original plan, but like be flexible, because no plan survives the first contact. So coming into things like when Matt and I were in the entrepreneur course together, a lot of things that, I thought it was going to go this way, but then I actually, as I started to do it and take those risks, I'm like, you know what? I need to change my gear a little bit, kind of like a jiu-jitsu match. Like, holy heck, this guy's got mad top game. So if I stay on the bottom, this guy's going to submit me. He's going to choke me. I got to change my position. Guard is not going to work against this guy.
Totally. You're trying to listen to the market and get a feel for what it needs,
Sure.
Instead of trying to force yourself upon it, you kind of take a step back and listen, because if somebody's doing the talking, they're not learning anything. Yep. But if you've got your ears open and you're listening, you got everything coming in, you're kind of understanding what's going on in the market. And I want to touch on that too, because it sounds like you've taken everything to the extreme when it comes to risk management and just getting yourself out there. And I know you talk about how, you're always the dumbest person in the room, but when you went to join the military, you decided to go the team side. When you went into real estate investing, you did it with a full-time job that is so demanding. You took it to the extreme when it comes to investing. When you decided to start your own companies, for example, you didn't just get into, I'm going to buy a house here, buy a house there. No, I'm going to look for the distressed properties. I'm going to find the pain points that people are feeling. I'm going to listen to what the market has to say. Interest rates are going up. How can I emotionally get the banks out of this deal, get the federal government out of this deal? Let's just do a deal, you and me, and let me figure out what you need and what I need, and let's make this work together. And I think that's really fascinating. That seems like you've lived your whole life with this mindset, and you've really honed in on focusing on taking things to listening to what the market says and doing what it wants.
Yeah, and I would proffer this to your military audience or your veteran audience. We learned some really valuable lessons in the military. Like one of them, you said, before we consider a target, we're going to do some investigation, right? We're going to do a recce, and then when things go crazy, when we meet contact and our plan kind of goes sideways, right? You want to have that poise, right? You want to be able to come off your gun and just be like, well, okay, all right, what do we have here? All right, this is what needs to happen. This is my priority, and then I want to pursue that priority. So it is too. When you've been in stressful situations, you realize that you can actually take a breath. You can look around and kind of adjust your sails to do what you need to do, and then research is everything. Most battles are won before they're fought, and so if you're going to invest, and your entire research consists of a website or a single article, I mean, you're probably going to fail. You should do your homework. You should get a mentor, get under that person's wing, someone who has blazed that trail successfully and or ultimately made some failures, and you can learn from not only their successes but their failures. And then that will save you the pain and the time and the money of failing yourself. So,
you take hope out of it.
Sure.
Everyone always talks about, running on hopium. Yeah. I hope it to happen. Come in with the plan, come in educated.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hope is not a plan. Dive your plan your dive, but also have some flexibility built in for contingencies, and just be like, okay, well, that didn't work out too well, so we need to adjust our sails a little bit. We had one challenge, one snafu on a recent deal that we did. We're still in it, but we're really close to closing. I'm not crossing my fingers, but I think we're gonna close it this week. But there was a piece of paperwork that the homeowner didn't have, and we didn't even know where to begin to find it. And then we put our heads together with the escrow shop, and the escrow shop said, "Wait a minute, you mentioned that this was in probate for a while. let's contact the probate court and maybe they have a copy on file, which they did, which saved the deal. So instead of freaking out, and like coming undone, and, we just kindly took a look at it and used some military applications like, okay, let's troubleshoot this. And then we solved it, and now heck, you know what? I probably just jinxed myself. We're probably not going to close the deal now, but I think we will. But I hope.
Totally. You put yourself out there, and this is what I want to touch on is that I know we talk about this a lot. We talk about our rock stars. We talk about finding people who you want to work with, and you've done the right networking. You've reached out to the right people. Whenever you met a brick wall, you figured out how to go around it, and because of that, you're closing deals and you're making things happen. Some people, when they hit a brick wall, they're like, well, okay, I guess I'm done. Back to the rat race again.
Right.
They can't get around it.
Yeah, it's that jujitsu, metaphor that you used. It's finding the in or finding the out or understanding your opponent and being resilient and finding the next move that could essentially, it's like almost like more fluid chess, if you will, or 3D or 4D chess, I guess.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so getting back to just speaking to the audience out here and the situation that they're in. I know we talk about the military a lot, but a lot of people can relate to this. Some people, maybe they're firefighters or police officers or educators, and they are actively working in their career. One of the things that I picked up working in the military is that we've got standard operating procedures, we've got regulations, we've got all these materials that are brought forward to us that not only in the military, but they're in other sectors as well, that you may think are dumb in the moment. You may think this is a waste of time until you apply that to something that you want to do. Because now you have a foundation to build off of. Now you see, oh, this is why we have standard operating procedures, because now I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel all the time. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is why we have regulation, because guess what? Somebody's done it before and they've made those mistakes. So now I can implement those into my business or my plan and move forward from there. So I would stress that even though we talk about, finding mentors, building a network, there's also a lot of things that you can do other than listening to podcasts, other than reading books, is like even in your day-to-day job, if you're driving around, drive for dollars. If you are in marketing, like figure out what works and what doesn't. How can you implement this system into your system? How can you take this standard operating procedure and build it into your company?
And it's moving that football, like you were talking about, so many times forward and so repetitively that it becomes second nature, just like that risk management system that we have. So we do it on the little things, the training field. So when we're in the battlefield, it becomes second nature. So when you're doing that recce and you see that target, you decide, what are the civilians doing? What's the geopolitical offset of this scenario? Where's the closest religious dome or religious institute? Where's schools? What is surrounding this target? What's before it and what's behind it? So we can strike it and we understand what the ramifications worldwide would be of that one particular strike.
Second and third order effects.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of some of this stuff, can you talk to us a little bit about risk and kind of like dissect what risk looks like in the military versus what risk looks like to somebody just starting out?
I'll try.
Yeah.
So we have a process in the military I think we hit on pretty hard. And you apply that, it's a matrix, and you apply that matrix to your activity, and then you identify the risks, and then you implement, you identify controls to that risk or that potential threat or potential harm, and then you implement and apply those risks. So in civilian world too, it's really no different. Any organization, in order to preserve life, in order to preserve their bottom line, they're going to have those processes, they're going to have those things in place more than people who come out of a military career actually realize. Fire stations, police, even go to your go to Wendy's and they have a procedure for something goes sideways there. So on an individual level, from the perspective of an investor, there's certain things that you want to do and you don't want to do. Number one, you want to do your homework up front. Number two, you want to seek a mentor. Number three, you want to make sure. I recommend. I recall this acronym, which was very helpful to me, and it's MAIL. So you want to know the market. Accounting, you want to know numbers. So what's the market doing right now? You have to know that before you invest. Accounting, do the numbers make sense, or is this a losing proposition? Also, I for invest. Gosh darn it, people have the hardest time differentiating between an investment and an expenditure, and those people who don't know the difference will never understand investing. So you have to understand, like, if I spend or if I invest this money now, my potential yield in 3 to 5 years will be this. I will have equity, and then I could do other things with that money. And then finally, legislation. In our country, and our country is very blessed, even with a lot of the challenges going on right now, our country is very blessed with investor-friendly legislation. For example, what we talked about earlier over coffee was that right now a single homeowner can claim, or they that first $250,000 that they make from their real estate is going to be tax-free, provided that they live there for 2 of the last 5 years. $500,000 for a married couple. So now put that in the context of someone who's in the military, like an E6 and his wife. Heck, they're in duty station X. They buy a house there, and then 3 years later they go somewhere else, and they made some money. They don't pay any taxes on it. That's a big deal. Well, that also applies in the civilian sector too. So you have to understand market, accounting, investment, and legislation. Those are crucial.
Yeah, and that was just for our viewers and listeners, that was the homestead advantage. And then, obviously that's just your primary residence. If it's an investment property, you have the 1031 exchange that you can take advantage of as well. I want to get into a little bit of your transition from military life to civilian life, or to your entrepreneur life. How set up did you feel because of how you conducted yourself through your military career? How much risk did you actually feel like you were taking? Or was it more, I'll just let you answer.
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm able to compare it to my friend who was a former Marine and his experience. He served, years before I did. He actually got out of the military when I became friends with him almost 30 years ago. And then his experience was like, the Marine was like, "Hey, are you going to re-enlist?" He's like, "No, I'm going to get out." And then they kind of just kicked him to the wayside. And this is not me talking poorly of the United States Marine Corps, an institution of which I have the utmost respect. That's just how it was, almost military-wide back then. Like, if you weren't going to re-enlist, you don't want to be part of our brotherhood or our sisterhood or our team. Heck with you, you're out. It's different now. There are so many programs. We have such greater awareness now. So I was fortunate to tap into some of those programs that exist now. I was told by people that recently got out, mentors and friends, like, "Hey man, please check this program out. Check this, check that program out before you get out. Here's what I saw were the benefits from it." So I invested heavily in all of that. As a matter of fact, you and I met in an entrepreneur course that was made available to transitioning people from the military. And that was a great experience because we all got to know each other. Yeah, exactly. And I've got some great nuggets one nugget in particular was put your ship to sea as soon as you can. Don't worry about having the perfect website. Don't worry about, all that stuff. So right now there's so many programs that are available. I was able to tap into quite a few. I also did things right at work. I earned the trust, respect, and confidence of the people that I work with, that they were like, "Hey, we're going to let you off ramp gently so that you can get all your ducks in a row." I was having some family challenges too when I was transitioning. I had a family member that was very ill, and it commanded a lot of my time. So I was very fortunate that the command gave me time for that, and also to address all the many things that you have to do to get out. So it was unnerving. It was a little scary, but I took a deep breath, took full advantage of the things that were available to us. I also sought the advisement of good friends that had gotten out a couple of years before me, paid attention to their advice, and just kind of leaned into all the things that were available and reaped the benefits too. So the transition was relatively non-bumpy, and I've had some friends that did not do it well. A buddy of mine lives in Montana. Man, he's still dealing with some demons because he kind of was on a faster track than I was, and he forewent some of the things that were available to us. But really, you want to get an integral approach to doing that and take advantage of all those programs, and just take a deep breath and be prepared for the next life and apply the lessons that you learned in the military to civilian world. And there's a lot of translation.
sounds like you had a really good balance during that whole
I did.
transition and before. I mean, you had your mentors throughout the military career where you were learning about the institutions that you would put into place after military. You had your investments, obviously, that you were making, and you had kind of that runway where you could, the intellectual runway where you made mistakes during your career, where afterwards you're not going to make the same mistakes. You took advantage of all the advantages that we have being military members transitioning out, and you're a good W-2 employee. You didn't just have the, F you, I'm getting out kind of mentality. You were a strong, ethical, and you hit on it. You had integrity with your W-2 job. So you had that confidence that was instilled by that integrity to let you go and transition, knowing that you would get your work done and be able to, have extra time or extra leeway to transition accordingly.
Yeah, too many people have retirement hit them as a surprise. They spend 20, 25, 30 years doing a job or career that they love, and when it comes down to retire, it hits them like a ton of bricks, like, wait, I'm not going to be doing this anymore?
Yeah.
And if you don't have an avenue or a vessel or a ship that you've set to sea that you can continue your journey on, you're just a duck in the water at that point with nothing to do, nowhere to go. And, I could see how that could put somebody into a dark place when they leave everything they know, their identity behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And conversely, you have people who retire, 2 to 5 years before they actually retire. And they're just, especially in our world, it's easy in being paid by the government to just coast over the last few years. And how many times, I'm sure you've heard this, oh, he's retiring or she's retiring, so you can't expect much out of them. I've heard that plenty of times in my military career.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, a little bit of coasting is not a bad thing. And I was given the opportunity to coast. I really was. And I struggled with it ethically at first. And I was like, no, you know what? My replacement is here. I've turned over with them. I've trained a lot of folks and helped a lot of people be successful. So it's now my time, like non-selfishly, to take time for family, to take time to invest in these programs that are available to us. I went through something called the Honor Foundation, which was very beneficial. I went to the program at Boise State with you. I did something called the Commit Foundation, which was also excellent. And these are trained professionals and they're geared towards helping you transition successfully and learn what it means to take the valuable skills and the knowledge and the experience that you gained in the military and apply it to the civilian world. Most of those things are geared towards becoming an employee in the private sector. And I learned from another one of my mentors that, if it's free, you're the product. So accept that. It's actually okay to be the product if it's something that you want to be part of. I, for one, made the decision after being in the military for, 2.5 decades. I'm like, you know what? I want to be my own boss. I realized that commuting really stressed me out, and I didn't want to commute anywhere. I wanted to be on my own program. Nothing really changed for me. I still get up at 4 a.m. I do my reading. I do my activities in the morning, and I'm still a very disciplined individual. I just don't have to commute anymore, and I can now devote my time to entrepreneurial ventures and also learning things that I don't know, things that I want to be interested in. And I have that flexibility and that resilience that I learned in the military, which is very helpful. I'm just like, hey, I thought this was going to be like, and I thought it was going to be like this, but it's not. It's very different. And I'm able to just calmly and coolly just adjust my sails to be successful. So, and again, failure, people always people are so scared of failure that they're afraid to take a risk. Don't be. I look at everything that I'm not doing for real, where my life is not on the line and my fortune is not on the line, as training. When do you want to fail in the military? You want to fail in training, because if you do it downrange, you're going to get yourself killed, or God forbid, you're going to get one of your teammates killed. Yeah. So each and every time that I'm doing something now, it's training. And then when I pull the trigger for real, now I'm well versed at it, and it's not a red line activity. It's like, okay, I've done my homework and I'm ready to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You don't wish to go out there and do it. Right. You train for it. So you fall to the level of your systems. Sure. You fall to those trainings, right?
So if I had any tidbit that I could offer to you gentlemen and anyone that's listening right now, it would be this. And this has stuck with me for a while. And this really helped me. And I wish I could pinpoint who. It was probably an amalgamation of everyone who like took me under their wing. But there's two activities that are completely useless, especially to investors, especially to entrepreneurs: worry and regret. If you're worried about something, that is a waste of time. That's a very negative energy. Don't do it. If you're worried about something, prepare for it and train for it and crush it. And don't regret. Like, what's the point in regretting? Like, you already shot that round. You already did that, whatever, you know? You already said that dumb thing. You already did that dumb thing. Learn from it. Get stronger and come back like a beast, you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Man, that's perfect, because we were going to lead into what's one thing that you could give to our audience that would help them further achieve their goals and get them on their path. And you beat us to the punch. That was perfect. Worry and regret. I love that.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day. What can I say?
That's right. That's right. Okay, so as we're exiting here, again, really appreciate you having on. But can you speak one more time on some of the things that you're looking forward to doing right now, or if anybody wanted to reach out to you, like, or team up, or see if they could help you out? Do you have anything? Do you have anything going on?
Yeah, we'll break this up to like, what are you doing next? What's in your 6 month to 12-month wheelhouse? Like, what are you looking to accomplish?
You never stop learning, number one. Number two, stay abreast of the market, know your numbers, understand investing and understanding investment opportunities, and also keep an eye on legislation, because legislation is a big part of how things turn out in the United States. So learn those things, read good books, seek a mentor, look for opportunities, and then, understand risks. That risk-taking, as you said earlier, very succinctly, not taking a risk might be the biggest risk of all. You might be the biggest knucklehead if you don't stick it out there, especially if you're on active duty and you're collecting a paycheck and you've got a very hard, demanding job in the military. You actually can afford to take some risk and earn passive income. Let your money work for you. My big takeaway from that book that I read, it was written by the same guy that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the name escapes me.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Right. It was called Cash Flow Quadrant, I think.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
It broke it down into employee, self-employed, business owner and investor. You can be an employee and an investor at the same time. And as an employee, you're working for your money. But as an investor, your money's working for you.
And it's understanding that mindset of what each one means.
Sure.
And that book does a great job at identifying that.
Phenomenal job.
Yep.
And that nugget has stuck with me for a long time. While I've been an employee, I've also been an investor. And sometimes my investments did better than me as an employee, which is a great feeling.
It is a great feeling.
Especially if you're married and you have kids. So, and do this as a partnership. If you report to somebody else like I do, my wife is in charge, kind of. But no kidding, keep her abreast of what's going on, because it's not just your money, it's your family's money. And explain the value of that investment. Like, hey, you know what? If we discipline ourselves and we set this aside right now and we put this into this property, our potential yield is this. And again, the market could change or whatever, but we may be able to hold the property, or we may opt to rent this property going forward. So it's exciting, it's fun, and you know what? It's one of the great things about America is that we have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, take those opportunity.
Absolutely.
Get off your butt, get out there, stop worrying about it, take some risk, and go learn. Exactly. If you think the bill of achievement is high, wait till you get the bill of regret. Boom. We only got one life to live, so just go frickin' live it.
I'm going to steal that. That's a good one.
Love it. Well, Keith, thank you so much for coming on today. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Talking about risk and talking about just getting out there and doing the thing.
But before we let you off the hook, we got to know, where can our listeners reach out to you?
So, like I told you earlier, I'm a total knucklehead. I tried to build my own website and failed miserably. So there you go. I researched how to build a website. I got so far, and my website is like a Frankenstein website right now. So talking to a young lady that I was in one of my transitional courses with, she recommended, she's like, you know what? Do you really need a website? She's like, you're looking to lead generate. That's what you want a web presence for. She's like, you can have a landing page. You can eventually get to that. But for the short term, since you've already put your ship to sea, so to speak, just have something on your Instagram page that people can reach out to. So my company's called Snake River Demolition, and I have an Instagram page. But you know what? I'm so busy right now from referrals, and referrals is the best way to generate your business. So if you really want to reach out to me on Snake River Demo, but no, on Instagram, but know that I'm fully immersed and I'm growing my business and I'm learning as fast as I can. But, in 2 to 3 years, I hope to have a robust web presence. But in the meantime, I am so freaking busy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, monitoring a website. So Instagram, Snake River Demo, and
or reach out to us if you guys have any questions for Keith or want to get a hold of him or try to figure out a better way. Like, we're always here too. Building that network and having those right people around you, those rock stars, is huge.
There you go.
Cool.
All right. Thanks again, Keith.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, we're the Turnkey Brothers, and thanks for tuning in with us today.
Don't forget to smash our algorithm with those likes, subscribes, and sharing it with someone you think would benefit from this episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media platforms at Turnkey Brothers.